In the second year of our marriage, my parents jokingly asked when Fabian and I would get our marriage certificate and have a baby. He was quick to answer, "Let's wait a little longer." I seriously calculated the timing and said, "I'll try to get pregnant within 3 months, so the baby can be born next spring." Fabian was upset that I made decisions on my own and spent the whole night out with a pregnant woman. As the planned time drew nearer, I had no choice but to dial the number of his archenemy. Blushing as I spoke, "Do you have time tonight? I just need to borrow 3 minutes of your time to help me get pregnant with a Fu family heir." The man on the other end nearly exploded. 3 minutes? Are you trampling on my dignity? Just you wait. Later that night, while I was busy trying to conceive the Fu family heir, Fabian went crazy looking for me. He searched everywhere but couldn't find me. Desperate, he kept calling my best friends one after another. Rosie said, "She's watching a movie with me. I'll tell her to call you later." Luna said, "She's singing karaoke with me. She'll call you back in an hour." Robin said, "She's at my place taking a shower. Do you want me to go call her for you?" After a sleepless night, near dawn, I finally saw his hysterical message on WeChat. "Have you been fucking dismembered? Or cut into 3 pieces, one thrown in the cinema, one in the KTV, and one in the bathroom?" Chapter 1. It was midnight, and Fabian still hadn't come home. When I called him, he gave me a perfunctory excuse. "I have a business meeting tonight. No time to come back. You don't know how exhausted I am. I don't even get a minute to myself all day." He must have been really busy, because he forgot to hang up the phone. I heard his friends teasing him, egging him on to drink. Then came a woman's sugary, coquettish voice. "Fabian, I'm pregnant, just 2 months. I can't drink, okay?" The room suddenly fell silent. A moment later, the stunned silence turned into laughter and cheers. "Didn't expect that. Fabian's got skills. He's liked Susie for years. It's about time they had a baby. But what if your wife gets mad?" Fabian sounded utterly unconcerned. "Come on. You all know that Selena and I only had the wedding. We never actually got the marriage certificate. She has no say over me. Besides, she's obsessed with me, madly in love. She wouldn't dare get angry." It was true, we never got the certificate. After the wedding, I'd suggested it many times, but Fabian always said he was too busy, and kept putting it off. I knew he just wasn't done playing around. He saw marriage as a cage that tied down his freedom. On one side, his company kept him constantly busy. On the other, he had his mistress's tender sweetness, and when it came to me, all that was left was impatience. Since he was so tired, I couldn't bring myself to bother him anymore. I opened my contacts list and sent a WeChat message to the one with the most arrogant, untamed grin in his profile picture. "Do you have time? I need your help. Help me give the Fu family an heir. Your rival's business is thriving. It must need a successor." 10 seconds later, the wildest laugh I'd ever heard fell completely silent. Chapter 2. The 3-story villa was silent and empty. I had given all the housekeepers a few days off to go home. I sat staring blankly at a bouquet of roses on the table, wilted and drooping. Fabian and I were bound by a business marriage. 2 powerful families merging, our company's interests tightly intertwined. Neither side was marrying up, nor down, but fate has always been a little more unfair to women. He could enjoy his pleasures outside, endless parties, endless pretty faces. When he'd had his fun, he might drop by home once in a while, toss me a luxury necklace or an expensive handbag, his form of compensation for neglect. "I'm busy with work. Too many social events. You just take care of the house." With that single sentence, "take care of the house," he reduced me to a glorified maid. The pile of jewelry and handbags grew higher and higher. He seemed to think it was only natural for me to stay in this mansion, lighting a warm lamp for him, waiting all night for his occasional return, with a bright, delighted smile that never tires, never fades. Then a message popped up on my phone. "Seal, you know I don't get along with Fabian. If I'd known he'd be at that party, I would have never gone." I replied, "That's exactly why I'm asking for your help." The person on the other end seemed stunned. "Seal, are you serious? If I end up being President Fu's kid's biological father, my family's going to give me a whole new page in the genealogy book." "Of course I'm serious. You've got your motorcycle race the day after tomorrow. I'll come find you then. All right. Seal, I'll be waiting for you. Through the screen, I could almost see Simon's flushed ears, and I could picture clearly the fierce rivalry between the Fu and C families in the business world. Since this so-called marriage alliance didn't understand the rules, I didn't mind finding someone else sooner. I opened my best friend's WeChat group, sent a 200 yuan transfer just to see who was still active, then typed, Fabian's mistress is pregnant with his child, so I need you girls to help me with something. A few seconds later, the group chat exploded back to life with notifications chiming one after another. Rosie, only 200 yuan to take her out? That's a big job, at least 300. Luna, she's the woman Fabian's loved for years. Gotta raise the price, 500 yuan minimum. Robin, I'm broke lately, 200 is fine. I'll take the job. You girls better not steal it from me. They were my closest sisters in the social circle. Robin, in particular, had been obsessed with getting her hands on the Hermes Himalayan Birkin, so she'd been frantically buying bundling items, leather belts, tissue box covers, even fly swatters and steel scrubbers. Her house was piled high with useless junk. Now she was so broke she wouldn't pass up even 200 yuan. I couldn't help rolling my eyes. I just want you to help me find some information about motorcycles. What on earth are you all imagining? Chapter 3. Fabian didn't drive home until nearly noon the next day. He rubbed his tired brow and said, Selena, come with me to my father's house. It was his father's birthday today. Nothing grand, just a small family gathering. But when I opened the passenger door, I froze. Sitting comfortably in the front seat was none other than her, his mistress, Susie. She made no move to get up, only gave me a pitiful yet provocative smile. Sister Seal, my stomach feels a little uncomfortable, so I took the front seat. Her hand brushed gently over her flat belly as she cast a sly glance toward Fabian, her eyes shimmering with a silent code only the two of them could understand. Susie had once been a daughter of a wealthy family, but after studying abroad, her family business went bankrupt. With her education unfinished, she returned home in disgrace. To maintain her once luxurious lifestyle, she reached out to the man who had chased after her for years like a simp, Fabian. For him, it was a dream come true, his longtime goddess finally descending from her pedestal into his arms. He became utterly infatuated, spending nearly all his time with her in the new apartment he'd bought, rarely returning home. Now that she was pregnant, climbing her way to the top would be almost effortless. But no matter how graceful and untouchable she once seemed, to everyone now she was nothing more than a kept woman, a canary in a gilded cage. Fabian's voice suddenly hardened. Who told you to sit there? Get in the back. Now. Then, trying to smooth things over, he turned to me. Selena, it's just that I still have some work to handle. I brought Susie along to help me with emails. Don't take it the wrong way. As long as I was present, Fabian wouldn't dare humiliate me directly. He still had enough sense to remember the web of business interests binding our two families. But when I wasn't there, his true face was the ugliest of all. Startled by his harsh tone, Susie rose reluctantly, one hand still protectively covering her stomach, as if that simple motion could possibly hurt the tiny, bean-sized life inside her. I pressed her back gently. No need to switch. I have things to do. I'll sit in the back. Robin had just sent me a mountain of motorcycle information, pages upon pages of it. I'd need peace and quiet to make sense of it all, and the back seat suited me perfectly. Susie flashed a triumphant smile. Fabian glanced at me in surprise as I slid into the back, even more baffled when I didn't speak a word to him afterward. Trying to please me, he handed over a breakfast bag. Since the housekeepers are on leave, you probably haven't eaten yet. I bought you something. No need. I already had breakfast. Earlier that morning, I had texted Simon. The housekeepers are off, so I don't have breakfast today. He'd replied within a minute. Seal, I can make a beef and cheese sandwich. I'll have someone deliver it to you once it's ready. That beef and cheese sandwich was enough to keep me full until now. I have a small appetite. One meal is plenty, especially when it's cooked with care. Just before getting out of the car, I said lightly, this Maybach is dirty. Have it dealt with within 3 days and replace it with a new one. Put it on your Fu family's account. Chapter 4. There weren't many people at the family dinner. Susie sat there like an obedient little rabbit, lifting her watery eyes for a brief moment before quickly lowering them again. She was still sulking over what I'd said when I got out of the car, though she didn't dare cry in front of everyone. Mr. Fu clearly wasn't pleased with her. His voice carried the weight of authority. Fabian, stop focusing on yourself. Serve Selena some food. This is a family dinner. Don't bring in outsiders who don't belong here. Susie's eyes immediately filled with tears. She bit her lip hard and bowed her head, not daring to say a word. Still, she managed to free one hand to caress her stomach, her face full of pitiful grievance. Fabian never dared to contradict his father. He hurriedly slid a mango pudding toward me. Selena, try this, I said calmly. I'm allergic to mango. The entire table went silent. To break the awkwardness, Mrs. Fu joked with a smile. Fabian, you and Selena have been married for a year now. When are you two planning to have a baby? Oh, they didn't know yet. Their wonderful son hadn't even bothered to get the marriage certificate. All for the sake of his so-called freedom. Fabian quickly replied. What's the rush? We'll wait a bit longer. I quietly calculated the timing, and a healthy, sunlit figure flashed through my mind. Then I said, within 3 months, I'll be pregnant. The baby should arrive by next spring. Fabian's expression darkened instantly. After dinner, he dragged me into the study on the second floor, fuming. Selena, what was that supposed to mean? I'm busy, flying all over the world for business, and you have to embarrass me like that in front of my parents? He was angry simply because I hadn't discussed the idea of having a child with him first. But I had thought about it carefully. I'm 28, right at the best age for childbirth. Waiting any longer wouldn't be good for my health. The company has been running smoothly this past year. I finally have some breathing room. So now is the perfect time for me. I met Fabian's furious gaze head-on. I hadn't even said I wanted his child. What was he angry about? If he's too busy, that's fine. His rival certainly isn't. Just as the tension between us was about to boil over, Susie appeared in the doorway, feigning concern. President Fu, Sister Seal, please don't fight. Get out. Slap. I struck her across the face before she could finish. A mistress, pregnant or not, is still just that. Even if she carries a so-called golden child, it can't compare to the fortune of the Fu family itself. In a business alliance marriage, I could tolerate Fabian's infidelity, but I would never allow his mistress to overstep in front of me. Susie spun dramatically, staggering before collapsing right onto the desk. A glass fish tank crashed to the ground and shattered into pieces. She fell among the sharp fragments, tiny beads of blood blooming along her fingertips. And still, she remembered to cradle her stomach protectively. Clever girl. Out of the dozens of antique vases in that study, she'd chosen the cheapest decoration in the room to break. Fabian's face twisted in panic. He rushed to her side, glaring at me with fury. Selena, look at yourself. You're acting like a hysterical shrew. Of course, how could he let me lay a hand on the woman he'd worshipped for years? Susie's tears streamed down her face as she clutched her belly. President Fu, my stomach hurts. Fabian swept her up in his arms. His brows knotted tight. Selena, I was planning to take you to the movies tomorrow, but your behavior lately has been beyond disappointing. I've spoiled you too much, let you become utterly reckless. If you still want to get that marriage certificate, you'll personally apologize to Susie tomorrow. I interrupted coolly. I won't be free tomorrow. I had a date with Simon to watch his motorcycle race. Chapter 5. Simon was 3 years younger than me, an age that thrived on danger, speed, and the thrill of rebellion. He straddled a brand new motorcycle, sunlight flashing off the chrome. When he pulled off his helmet, his soft, tousled hair spilled out, and he grinned as he introduced me to the group. This is my sister. A wave of whistles and teasing followed. Where'd this gorgeous sister come from? How come we've never seen her before? Sister? More like Simon's sweetheart sister. Huh? Does the pretty sister have a boyfriend? In our circle, few people actually played with motorcycles. Most rich young heirs preferred yachts, sailing out into the deep blue, holding champagne flutes, draped in a mix of perfumed beauties, drowning in luxury and excess. Simon, though, loved his custom-built bike. Once he'd put on his racing gear, he waved at me with that fearless grin. Come on, Sis, hop on. I'll show you how I take first place. I was wearing a dark purple dress, my waist-length curls glinting under the sun. When he handed me a pink helmet, I didn't take it. I like black. Without hesitation, Simon swapped it for a black one. Pink was delicate, but I wasn't in the mood to be the good girl. I wanted to be reckless. The mountain road was bursting with spring life, lush and green, the wind slicing past. I leaned forward, my chest pressed tightly against his back. Simon's body tense like a drawn bow, firm and vibrant, carrying a faint, clean scent of vanilla. My hand slipped into my pocket, brushing against my phone. A message from Fabian. Of course, Selena. I've tolerated your repeated humiliation of Susie, but you've gone too far, daring to hit her in front of me. If you don't apologize today, forget about ever getting the marriage certificate. He was so sure of himself, convinced that I loved him too much to ever walk away, that I'd trade my pride for a thin booklet stamped with our names. But Fabian had misjudged me. I was never the kind of woman who waited at home for her husband to return. Every night he spent out, I was plotting how to peel away, piece by piece, the assets and power he held in his hands. Sensing my distraction, Simon tapped the brake lightly. The jolt brought us even closer, my breath catching against his neck. Seal, he said, his voice low and teasing. You're this close to me and still spacing out. Tell me, do you just not like me at all? Chapter 6. How could I not like him? Every time Fabian paraded his kept woman in front of me, swaggering and then arrogantly instructing me to take care of the house and learn to cook from the maids when you have time, I'd think of Simon. I'd also think of the rivalry between the Sue family and the Fu family in business, so much so that when Fabian and Simon showed up at the same party, people instinctively split into two sides to keep them from fighting. The view from the mountaintop was beautiful. By the time we arrived, the sun had already begun to set. The sunset faded, tree shadows lengthened, and spring felt generous around us. I calmly pulled a stack of documents from my bag. This is the plot in South City, a joint investment by the Sue and C families. Consider it my show of sincerity for asking your help. Simon grabbed my hand, not very pleased. Sis, are we in such a beautiful place just to talk business? What else would we talk about? His motorcycle? I tried to flatter him a little. Your bike is beautiful, such smooth lines. And the color. I seldom see a deep purple so pretty. He visibly brightened. He sprang up and gestured excitedly. You've got an eye for it. The paint on this bike is a rare claret purple. Very few shops can match it perfectly. The first time I saw you at President Fu's wedding, I liked you, wearing that pink fishtail dress. You were like a fallen fairy, but I think you suit purple better. Back then I thought, if an arranged marriage could net such a fine girl, how lucky a husband would be. Oh. And the bike body is custom. I removed the front wing because it caused too much drag. While he went on about it, I sneakily glanced at Fabian's WeChat. Selena, why haven't you come apologize to Susie yet? Where are you? Annoying. I answered perfunctorily, on my way. Then I turned back to Simon. Damn. He wouldn't stop, from the engine to the exhaust, from body lines to the tire contact patch. I stood up, kissed his warm lips, and casually gave his bike a little kick. Heat flushed Simon's cheeks all the way to his earlobes, and the words about the modified exhaust that were about to spill out got swallowed back down. After a heated kiss, the sky darkened. Simon shyly asked, Sis, I have a villa near the summit with a gorgeous night view. May I invite you in for a bit? I happily nodded and climbed onto his deep purple bike with its long travel hydraulic suspension and liquid-cooled inline-4 engine. The villa was quiet, undisturbed. Just as Simon reached to unzip my dress, Luna called me. Selena. I saw Fabian and his mistress at the cinema. That woman was practically hanging off him. And remember the last 200 yuan job Robin took? She bought that Hermes Himalayan Birkin and now posts like mad every day. I've been kicking myself for 2 days for missing out. Today it's only 200. I'll do that pair of dog lovers for you. Buy one get one. By the way, what are you up to? Chapter 7. I took a deep breath. Just got to the part where we're taking off our clothes. Luna immediately hung up. Right then, Fabian's message popped up again, relentless. As always, why haven't I seen you yet? Where the hell are you? I'm waiting for you to come apologize. Simon's hand slid down from my back to my waist. I shivered and accidentally sent a voice reply. Almost there. Almost down to my waist. Stop touching me already. I was still holding on to the last bit of composure. Simon, remember to sign off on that South City plot. I guarantee your investment will double in 2 years. We'll make a great team. He grinned, voice low and playful. Seal. From here on out, our cooperation's going to get even better. At midnight, a sudden downpour came. Raindrops the size of beans beat furiously against the floor-to-ceiling windows. After this rain, summer had officially arrived. A few beads of sweat rolled down from my collarbone, slowly tracing their way down my neck. I yawned and glanced at the dark night outside. My phone lay face down beside the pillow, long since switched to silent mode. When I picked it up, there were 73 missed calls. 3 from my girlfriends, 70 from Fabian. In WeChat, my girlfriends had all left me messages. Rosie, your man called asking where you went. I told him you were watching a movie with me. Remember to call him back later. Luna, Fabian called me too. Looking for you. I told him you were out at a bar singing karaoke with me. What's his problem? So pushy. Robin, the proud owner of the Himalayan Birkin. Fabian asked me where you were. I told him the water was out at your villa, so you came over to my place for a shower. Let's make sure our stories match, okay? Don't mix it up later. And then there was Fabian's endless barrage of messages. Where the hell are you now? Forget it. I'll come to the villa to pick you up. Remember to bring something to apologize with. That purple diamond necklace, Susie likes it. Bring it, and maybe she'll forgive you. Half an hour later. His tone turned ugly. You're not home. Where are you? What the fuck are you doing? I've called you 70 times and you didn't pick up once. Your little girlfriends are all a bunch of liars. What happened to you? Got chopped into pieces. A part in the cinema, a part in the KTV, and another at that Robin's house with her damn Birkin? Chapter 8. Fabian's 71st call came out of nowhere. My finger slipped. I accidentally picked up. Selena. Where the hell are you? Why aren't you waiting for me at the villa? I yawned. After half the night's chaos, my whole body ached. Fabian really had some nerve. He could spend every night out indulging himself, while I was supposed to sit home alone, waiting for the rare occasion he decided to grace me with his presence. Simon, clearly annoyed that I'd answered the call, leaned down and bit my collarbone. I let out a soft gasp, too faintly breathy, too charged with heat. The sound slipped right through the speaker and into Fabian's ear. His voice rose, sharp and furious. Where are you? Then, as if something clicked, he gave a cold laugh. Selena, is this your new trick? Trying to make me jealous so I'll pay attention to you? That won't work on me. You know my patience is limited. I had already hung up. Patience? I had even less. Simon, still burning with jealousy, pulled me closer. His voice possessive. Seal, do I get to be official now? I turned to look at him, startled. His face was flushed. I had never planned for this to become anything more. All I wanted was a child, not a marriage. For me, keeping the baby but skipping the husband was far safer, far simpler. With my family's wealth, I could raise 100 children on my own if I wished. And Simon, good looks, good temperament, was an excellent candidate for a father. But that didn't mean I wanted to marry him. I pinched his waist lightly. At that party, when Fabian's little canary announced her pregnancy, you were the one who laughed the loudest. Simon quickly defended himself. I was laughing at him for being so stupid, wanting freedom and pleasure, yet still clinging to the power and benefits of a business marriage. People like that end up with nothing, hands empty, heart empty. Anyone could see that. Everyone except Fabian. Lost in the sweetness of his own delusion, the phone beside the pillow showed it was 4 a.m. Dawn was still a while away. One time wasn't enough to guarantee conception. I tugged Simon down by the neck, whispering against his ear, "Give me 3 more minutes. I want to make sure I really get pregnant this time." Simon froze for a second, then let out a low growl, almost like a wolf cub provoked past reason. 3 minutes? Is that all the respect you've got for me? Just wait till tomorrow. I'll show you how long I can go. As we sank once again into the fever of the night, I vaguely heard him murmur near my ear, voice thick with pride and mischief. Sis. That night when Fabian forgot to hang up, it was because my best buddy sitting beside him accidentally knocked his phone down. When he picked it up, he hit the lock screen instead of ending the call. I went to a lot of trouble for you. So, how about we make it official and get that marriage certificate soon? Chapter 9. At dusk, I dragged my exhausted body back to the villa. Fabian sat on the sofa in the living room. With two dark, heavy circles under his eyes, he looked like he hadn't slept all night. Cigarette butts were scattered all over the floor. He stared at my tired face, furious and humiliated. Where on earth did you go? I yawned and randomly picked one of the 3 excuses I'd prepared. I went to Robin's place to take a shower. Heh, Selena, that whole playing hard to get trick is so outdated. You're just learning it now? That's really beneath you. Fabian had chased plenty of beautiful girls before. Some of them, eager to climb up the social ladder, deliberately used the playing hard to get tactic, like pretending to be in high demand, or ignoring calls on purpose to create a sense of mystery and misunderstanding. But Fabian never tolerated that kind of childish game. He would block them immediately and go look for his next target. But I was really, truly exhausted. All I wanted was to lie down and sleep. Fabian, however, wouldn't let it go. Susie had to get over 20 stitches in her hand. I spent half the night comforting her before she could finally sleep. If you hadn't pushed her, how could she have suffered so much? Selena, you must apologize to her. Otherwise, our marriage certificate will never happen. That last part actually pleased me. Well then, let's just not get married. Last night, the young wolf had gone wild. When I refused to agree to the marriage registration, he didn't stop. In a moment of weakness, I promised Simon I'd register the marriage, afraid I'd back out. He made me swear we'd get it done within a few days. All my assets had already been notarized, there wasn't a cent for him to take advantage of. But Simon insisted on transferring 5% of the Sue family's shares to me, saying it was for our future child security fund. The shares had already been transferred to my name, and they felt like they were burning in my hands. Fabian, enraged, said fine 3 times in a row, then snapped. Selena, since you refuse to apologize, I'll take Susie to Europe for a month to relax. As for our marriage certificate, we'll talk about it later. My eyes lit up. I'd been wondering how to separate part of our joint assets, and now he was voluntarily going abroad. I immediately saw him off with a smile. In that case, I wish you both a wonderful trip. Chapter 10. As Fabian boarded the plane with Susie in his arms, he kept taking out his phone, checking if I had sent him a WeChat message begging for peace. The screen was spotless, not a single word from me. Standing at the gate, he called one of his buddies. Tom. Why the hell hasn't she called to make up yet? I'm about to get on the damn plane. Hey, Mr. Fu, women are always like this. The more you spoil them, the more they walk all over you. Why not let her stew for a bit? Once she starts missing you, she'll give in to everything. Trust me. Bro, when you get back from Europe, Selena will be bawling her eyes out, begging for forgiveness. This trick works every time. Fabian bought it completely. His mood improved instantly, and he strode into the cabin. That day, the sun was perfect as Simon and I stepped into the Civil Affairs Bureau. 10 minutes later, we each held a small, bright red booklet in our hands. We both understood exactly what to do and what not to do in a marriage of convenience. The joint project in Nanching, co-invested with the Sue family, was already in full swing. After wrapping up all that business, Simon proudly waved 2 plane tickets at me, grinning mysteriously. Seal, how about we go to Europe to try on wedding dresses? Europe, ancient castles, mysterious air, and leisurely people strolling down cobbled streets. Inside a luxurious bridal boutique, as I slipped into a purple gown, my favorite color, the shop assistant's face lit up in admiration. I stood before the massive floor-length mirror, turning this way and that. So, even in a marriage built on alliance, I could still wear the color I loved most. Arm in arm with the man beside me, I would walk slowly into the chapel. After confirming the final design, Simon and I left the boutique. At the street corner, I spotted 2 all too familiar figures, Fabian and Susie. It had been half a month since we last saw each other. He didn't look relaxed or happy as I'd imagined. His brows were furrowed tight with irritation. He pulled out his phone and made a call. "Tom, what's Selena been up to lately?" He had the call on speaker, and I could clearly hear his friend's voice. "How would I know? Haven't seen her in our circle recently." "Not just her, even President C has disappeared. Can't get in touch with him at all." Fabian's expression darkened even further. "It's been almost a month. Selena hasn't reached out once." "Oh, come on, Fabian. That's just another woman's move, pretending she doesn't care. Just waiting for you to take the bait. Every girl I've dated has tried that one." Fabian's expression softened slightly, but this time, he only believed it halfway. After hanging up, Susie clung to his arm, pouting playfully. "Mr. Fu, I still want to stay and have fun for a few more days." Her gesture was practiced and confident, as if she already believed her position was secure. Fabian's tone left no room for discussion. "Fun? Enough. We're going back home tomorrow." As they walked farther away, I received a few messages in my best friend's group chat. Rosie wrote, "Selena, my dear queen, guess what I just captured?" Attached were several photos, Fabian and Susie kissing passionately on a French street. They looked like a married couple, lost in each other, ignoring the stares from people around them. "Just $200, and I'll make sure this cheating pair goes viral online. Ha ha ha. Finally. Justice pays. Looks like I just earned myself that 200. Chapter 11. The day I returned to the country. News of the Fu Corporation's president cheating made the top of the trending list. The company's stock plummeted overnight, as gossip-hungry netizens swarmed in. Susie's luxury lifestyle page completely collapsed. Countless people flooded her profile, shouting for justice and calling her a homewrecker. A desperate and overwhelmed Fabian asked to meet me at a cafe. I gladly accepted. He looked even more miserable and haggard than I had imagined, like a man who hadn't slept properly in weeks. When the waiter brought 2 cups of coffee, Fabian rubbed his furrowed brow and spoke in a tone of frustration. "I've been back for a week. Where the hell have you been? You don't answer your phone or reply to my messages. I've looked everywhere for you." Of course he couldn't find me, because while he was flying back home, Simon and I were boarding a plane to Africa. We had been traveling around the world together, floating in a hot air balloon above the plains of Tanzania, watching the wildebeest migration. It was vast and magnificent, dotted with young calves frolicking in the herd, just a few months old, full of curiosity about the world. Simon, full of excitement, pointed at them. "Selena, look, they're playing around their mothers." At that moment, something inside me stirred, and I instinctively placed a hand on my belly. The first thing I did when I got back was go to the hospital for a checkup. "You know what?" Fabian's weary voice dragged me back to reality. "Susie's pregnant." She was harassed at home, people showed up calling her a mistress, and she was so frightened she almost lost the baby. "So here's the deal, Selena. If you can just clarify online that we never registered our marriage and we're only dating, then Susie won't be seen as the other woman. Do that, and I'll drop the whole apology thing. Don't worry, once this scandal dies down, I'll still marry you. The title of Mrs. Fu will always belong to you. As for Susie's child, I'll send him abroad. He'll never appear in front of you." Fabian truly was at his wit's end. His tone carried the exhaustion of a man crushed between his company's collapsing stock and his delicate white moonlight's tearful fragility. I pushed away my cup of coffee and asked the waiter to replace it with juice. The bitter aroma turned into fresh sweetness. Looking at his defeated, miserable state, I decided to give him a piece of good news to lift his spirits. "Mr. Fu, I actually came to tell you something good." He sighed impatiently. All right, you just want to get the marriage certificate, right? Once you clarify things online, we'll go to the Civil Affairs Bureau." I pulled a folded piece of paper from my pocket and slapped it onto his face. "I'm pregnant, just 1 month along." The defeat on Fabian's face froze into disbelief. His expression became a chaotic palette, anger, shock, rage, all swirling into one storm of fury. He slammed his fist on the table, veins bulging on his hands. "Selena, I haven't touched you in 3 months. When exactly did you get pregnant with that bastard?" I looked at his outburst with disdain. Do the math. It must have been the night I was dismembered and dumped across the cinema, KTV, and bathroom. And watch your words, that bastard is my husband's child. Oh, Right, my husband and I already got our marriage certificate. You're welcome to attend the wedding next month. Chapter 12. The villa where Fabian and I had lived together for a year was slowly being emptied. Piece by piece. Outside, the cicadas of early summer sang tirelessly. Fabian had actually spent fewer than 100 days living in this house. The nightlife outside had always been too tempting, leaving this grand villa feeling cold and haunted in comparison. He stood there in shock, as if his mind hadn't caught up with reality. He wanted to stop the workers who were busily packing things away, but he didn't know where to start. Selena. I was just playing around with Susie. I never planned to marry her. You. He seemed to be making a great concession. If you get rid of the baby, we can go get the marriage certificate right away. His voice no longer carried the arrogance and certainty it once had. I won't question your past with that other man. I'll even cut things off completely with Susie, as long as you abort the child and come back to me. Stop being stubborn. Selena, let's just live well together, all right? I gently caressed my belly. This child was something I had longed for. There was no way I could end her life. You can hurt me, but not my child. She was the continuation of my life. The seed I had chosen myself, now blossoming and bearing fruit. Mr. Fu, I said softly, you want both love and profit. Aren't you afraid that by being so greedy, you'll end up with nothing at all? He was torn, part of him still the impulsive boy chasing thrilling love, part of him the calculating man clutching tightly to his interests, unable to let go of either side. He wavered endlessly, pulling himself apart until he was split in two. Fabian's face turned pale. He shook his head again and again. No, I just don't want to be tied down by marriage. Selena, you've loved me for so many years, but if even we can't be together, are you sure you and your child's father can love each other until the end? Yes, I had loved him for many years. Fabian was handsome, generous, and once dazzlingly charming. Even while he chased after Susie, I had stood behind him, hoping he might turn around and look at me, just once. When I learned that my family would be entering into a marriage alliance with the Fu family, I had been so excited that I couldn't sleep for nights. But from the moment Susie returned from abroad after the wedding, everything changed. I became a clown, stripped of dignity. The fragile love I had built vanished in an instant. At last, the last of my belongings were packed, the moving truck full to the brim. Only children believe in love. Adults know that everything runs on mutual interest. Fabian, I said as I stood by the door, don't you understand? The most stable marriage is a partnership of benefits. The roar of a motorcycle echoed from outside, bathed in the orange glow of sunset. Simon removed his helmet, raising a hand toward me with a bright grin. Sister, I've come to take you home. He refused to drive a car, always insisting on that flashy motorcycle. I climbed on behind him and wrapped my arms tightly around his waist. Simon twisted the throttle, and we shot forward. The hot wind whipped across my face. The best thing about a motorcycle, unlike a car, was that our hearts could press together, beating in sync, feeling each other's pulse. Behind us, Fabian's eyes were bloodshot as he screamed in fury, chasing like a mad dog. Simon! So it was you all along, stealing my woman right under my nose. Chapter 13. That night, Fabian called me dozens of times. I didn't answer a single one. Then a call came in from an unfamiliar number. I picked up, curious. Miss Selena, please come to the bar. Mr. Fabian's drunk. He's been calling your name and refuses to leave. Then let him live there. I said dryly. The Fu family can afford a few nights in a bar, can't they? The voice on the other end went silent. We'd never registered our marriage. At best, I was just Fabian's ex-girlfriend. His life was no longer my concern. The man tried again, pleading, Miss Selena, he's been drinking nonstop tonight. If he keeps going, something bad might happen. How unfortunate. I replied flatly. If I'd married him, and he died tonight, all that inheritance would have been mine. This time, there was total silence. Then I heard someone mutter in the background. Fabian, she really doesn't like you anymore. The phone changed hands, and Fabian's hoarse voice came through. Selena, I don't believe you could ever leave me. He was clearly drunk, words tumbling over each other. I can't find you anywhere. You used to always stay at the villa, no matter how late I came home. There was always a light waiting for me. But now, the villa's empty without you. I went to every house under your name. Knocked and knocked, no one answered. I even called your 3 best friends. One said you were at the movies. Another said you were singing karaoke. And the last one told me you were taking a shower. Fabian's voice cracked, tinged with a sob. They didn't even bother coming up with new excuses. Those are the same ones they used to fool me last time. I couldn't help it. A laugh slipped out. Then I hung up the phone. I thought I could finally sit in peace and go over the wedding guest list. But half an hour later, the doorbell of my villa rang. Chapter 14. The summer rain came down fast and furious. Fabian stood before me, drenched from head to toe. When his eyes met mine, a flicker of hope lit up within them. He tried, humbly and cautiously, to win me back. Selena, come home with me. This isn't your home. Before I could respond, Simon Sue appeared behind me, his expression cold and unyielding. 2 bright red marriage booklets in his hand, one twitch away from being slapped into Fabian's face. Mr. Fu, take a good look. Selena and I are legally married. If she's not at my house, do you really think she'd be at yours? Fabian's fury shot up like a flame meeting gasoline. He lunged forward, swinging a punch at Simon's face, shouting angrily, "The Sue family's been against us in business for years, but now you dare steal my wife too?" Simon, who spent years working out and riding motorcycles, dodged the punch easily, countering with a swift kick that sent Fabian sprawling to the ground. Afraid he'd go too far, I quickly stopped him, then turned to Fabian with an icy voice. "I'm already married. Mr. Fu, please, don't come looking for me again." But Fabian still refused to give up. "Selena, do you really think Simon's sincere with you? That night you called me, it was him. He deliberately had someone knock my phone away so you'd overhear everything. He planned it all from the start." I looked down at him, my gaze sharp and disdainful. "Oh, so when you were in bed with your mistress, was he behind you too, helping you move?" Fabian's body went slack. The fight drained from him. Just before the door shut, he clutched his head in pain and muttered, "Selena, if we had registered our marriage back then, would everything be different now?" I paused, then gave him a thoughtful answer. "Yes, it would definitely be different. If we'd registered, then Simon would be the biological father of the Fu family heir. The Sue family would probably dedicate an entire page of the family genealogy just for him." I sighed, pretending to pity him. Such a glorious dream ruined all because we never got that marriage certificate. The heavy door closed with a thud, cutting us off, 2 people now living in separate worlds. Simon looked anxious, afraid I might misunderstand. "Sister, I never meant to trick you. My feelings for you are real. I just wanted you to see who Fabian truly was." Then he pulled out his phone and showed me his chat history. In his group chat with his buddies, dated a month ago, Simon had written, "I've liked Selena for so long. Any ideas on how I can win her over?" Jed replied, "Didn't she and Mr. Fu never get officially married?" Basil added, "For $100. I'll organize a party. When Selena calls to ask where Mr. Fu is, I'll make sure the call stays connected. Then she'll hear the truth herself." And Simon, "That's your shot." David chimed in, "Count me in for 100. When Mr. Fu and Selena fight, I'll talk him into not giving in. That's your chance to swoop in and win her over early." I turned off the phone, my heart heavy. His friends were so cheap, $100 each, and they'd orchestrated an entire drama. Even my best friend's group charges $200. Chapter 15. When the custom-made European wedding gown arrived, I went to the bridal boutique for my final fitting before the wedding. In front of the huge floor-length mirror, Luna, Robin, and Rosie all gasped in amazement. Simon had been right. Purple suited me far better than pink ever did. A staff member from the boutique came over and whispered softly in my ear, "Miss Selena, someone is here to see you." After changing out of the gown, I stepped outside and found Susie waiting. In just half a month, she looked so frail I could barely recognize her. She should have been almost 4 months pregnant by now, but her belly was flat, and her lips had lost all color. She looked like a wandering spirit, her hollow eyes locking onto my face, then slowly shifting down to the purple necklace on my neck. That necklace, Fabian once asked me to hand it over to Susie as a peace offering. Tracing further back, 5 years ago, it had appeared at an auction. Its stunning beauty drew everyone's admiration, and Susie had tried to bid for it too. But she hadn't gathered enough money in time, and it ended up in my hands instead. Now, it still hung around my neck, gleaming with that same deep, intoxicating shade of violet. Luna stepped in front of me protectively. "What are you doing here?" she demanded. Susie's eyes were bloodshot, her voice trembling with bitterness as she yelled, "Do you know? I was pregnant." I raised both hands quickly. "Not my doing." Luna, Robin, and Rosie also hurried to defend themselves. "Not ours either." Susie's expression twisted with even greater hatred. "Last week, I lost my baby." I instinctively placed a hand over my stomach, startled. "Thank goodness mine is still here." Luna, Robin, and Rosie all exhaled with relief. "Yeah, thank goodness Selena's baby is safe and sound." From Susie's trembling words, the whole story unfolded. She had been the pampered white moonlight, the kept woman dreaming of becoming Mrs. Fu. She tried to use her pregnancy to force Fabian into marriage, but an overwhelmed and furious Fabian snapped at her, shouting, scolding, finally shoving her hard in a moment of anger. Then he stormed out, leaving her behind, and that shove had cost her the baby. Susie had schemed for months to get pregnant, believing it would secure her a rich wife's life in the Fu family. But her golden dream evaporated in an instant, her face contorted with rage. She finally found a target to unleash all her bitterness upon. "Do you know how many years Fabian loved me? Do you know how happy he was when I finally said yes to him? If it weren't for you standing between us, why else would he have delayed marrying me for so long?" She had once been radiant, basking in luxury and attention, but now, stripped of status, forced back into harsh reality, all that was left was hysteria, and a desperate determination to claw her way back up. I sighed, patient despite her madness, and handed her a cup of hot water. Looking at her thin, withered frame, I decided to offer her a dose of truth. "I left Fabian a long time ago. The reason he hasn't married you yet, do you really think that's because of me? Crush? Please, the moment your whole life depends on his wallet. You're nothing more than a gilded canary in a cage." Chapter 16. The day before the wedding. Mr. Fu, Fabian's father, finally reached out to me, his voice full of weary politeness. "Selena, could you spare a moment to visit Fabian? He drank too much and had a gastric hemorrhage. He's just pulled through the worst." His voice sounded far older than when I last heard it back at the Fu family's old residence. For the elder's sake, I went to the hospital. Fabian lay pale and frail on the pristine white hospital bed. When he saw me walk through the door, his eyes lit up instantly. "Selena, you do still care about me, don't you? That's why you came." But when he noticed Simon standing right behind me, his words died in his throat. "Simon, what are you doing here?" Simon casually wrapped an arm around my waist. "My wife goes wherever I go. We're legally married. After all, officially recognized by the law." He even pulled out the 2 little red marriage booklets and waved them in front of Fabian's face. Just to drive the point home, it was almost absurd. All those years with Fabian, I'd longed for those same red booklets and never got them. But with Simon, in just a matter of days, I had what I'd once dreamed of. Fabian's face twisted in pain. His lips trembled. "Selena, I can still give you that certificate. Just divorce him, and we'll get ours immediately." "Mr. Fu," I said coolly, "you should save your marriage certificate for someone more fated." As for me, I pulled a thick proposal document from my bag. The Nanching project was originally supposed to be a collaboration between the Fu family and the Su family. But since I'm now part of the Su family, the partnership has changed. Su Group will be taking over. "I came here just to let you know." All color drained from Fabian's face. I knew the Fu family's stock had been plunging recently. My father, furious over their past arrogance, had also suspended several of our cooperative projects with them. Fabian's situation was far from enviable. He still couldn't accept that I'd married someone else so easily. Still clinging to his last shred of pride. "Selena," he pleaded, "I really do love you now. Everything before was my fault. Please, if you come back, I'll do anything." Did he love me? Perhaps, now he did. The Fu family was on the brink of a financial crisis. Its capital chain stretched thin. The Nanching project was the only lifeline left, and now, Su Group had snatched it away. The pain of lost profit had transformed into what he called love, and he was desperate to reclaim it, and me. I shook my head gently. I'm happy now. I don't need your love. Let's just forget the past. As I turned to leave, Fabian shouted after me, voice raw and wild. Selena, do you really think Simon truly loves you? I looked back at his crazed expression, calm as ever. I was 28 years old, far past the age of believing in words of love. Why should I care whether he loves me or not? I never married him to spite you, and I never needed to stay single just to prove I'm strong. Simon suits me, and he suits marriage. That's all there is to it. The door to the hospital room suddenly burst open. Susie stormed in like a madwoman, kicking and hitting the frail man on the bed. She's just a business arrangement. How could you ever love her? The one you should love is me. Why won't you marry me? Chapter 17. The wedding day was lively and grand. Fabian arrived earlier than even the groom. I still remembered our last wedding attempt, how he had shown up late. His face like a corpse, trudging through every ceremonial step as though it were a burden. I knew why. He came because he needed the benefits that marriage would bring. He was annoyed because he didn't want some unfamiliar woman tied to his life, sharing his future. His name, his destiny. He only ever wanted what he wanted. Now, I stood on the stage in a custom-made purple gown, petals raining from above as Simon slid a violet diamond ring onto my finger. In the corner, Fabian sat like a ghost, pale, bitter, and seething with resentment strong enough to feed 10 demons. A bruise still marked his forehead where Susie had hit him. I'd heard he'd kicked her out that same night. His beloved white moonlight had turned into a clinging speck of rice stuck to his clothes, unwanted, unsightly. He still couldn't accept the truth that his short trip to Europe with his first love had cost him everything. He came back to find no wife, no Nanching project, no child, and the only child left belonged to someone else. That thought alone made his glare towards Simon sharpen, cold as a blade. After the ring exchange, Simon leaned close, whispering softly in my ear, I've always known that one day I'd have to marry for alliance. So I thought, if I can't avoid it, then I'll at least choose someone I truly like from among them. Luckily, it wasn't too late. In this marriage of convenience, we had both found the most fitting partner. He drew me into his arms and pressed a kiss to my forehead. The necklace you're wearing, he murmured, was actually a Sioux family heirloom mistakenly auctioned off 5 years ago. When I found out Grandma's violet diamond had been sold, I wanted to buy it back for twice the price. But the moment I saw you wearing it, I realized, rather than locking such beauty in a vault, it belonged on someone who truly deserved it. The gesture was intimate and achingly romantic. Down below, Fabian nearly flipped the table in fury, only to be restrained by the people on either side of him, forcing him back into his seat. In love, I had taken many wrong turns, stumbled through crossroads blinded by fate. But in the end, I found my way through the fog. As purple petals drifted down like rain, I turned to my 3 best friends, bouquet in hand. I'm about to toss it. Whoever catches it will find love this year. Luna raised her hand eagerly. Selena, that bouquet's mine. Rosie scoffed. Dream on, I've been waiting months for this chance. Robin grinned. Excuse me, that bouquet will go perfectly with my Himalayan cat. Don't even try to fight me for it. Smiling faintly, I turned my back to them and threw the bouquet high into the air. It traced a perfect arc, a soft splash of color against the sky, and when it fell, Luna, Rosie, and Robin all scattered like startled birds. The bouquet landed squarely in Basil's hands. The girls clutched their chests in mock relief. Goodness, that was close. Thank heavens it didn't hit me. I'm not ready to get married yet. Amid the laughter and noise, I suddenly recalled that night when Fabian had forgotten to hang up the phone. The world inside the call had been filled with laughter, music, and glittering lights, a feast of excess and vanity. And I, standing outside that call, had been nothing more than a stray dog left in the cold. When Susie's sweet voice declared she was pregnant, the still open line sealed both my heartbreak and my future with Simon.